When studying the history of the peoples of Central Asia, it is impossible to assess the history of the region without a detailed study of Timur and the Timurids. Indeed, in the history of the peoples of Central Asia, the period of Timur and the Timurids was a period of great positive changes in the political, social, economic and cultural development of the country. Hi fans, do you know about the Timurid generation? If you know, you can rate this video and skip it. If you don't know, I encourage you to watch the video to the end. Think about it. In the 7th century BC, Amir Temur conquered almost the entire world. But peace prevailed in the countries he conquered and then prospered. Don't forget to subscribe to our channel so you don't miss the next part of our first video about Amir Temur. In the middle of the 14th century, a power struggle intensified in the lands occupied by Genghis Khan and his heirs to the throne. By 1348, a Mongol feudal state was established in eastern Turkestan, with Tughlaq Timur of the Chagatai dynasty as Khan. From the beginning, Tughlaq Timur organized several military operations in Muvarunar to expand his territory. At a time when such civil wars were raging and social, economic and political crises were intensifying, Amir Temur, a great master and skilled military commander, famous for his fight against the Mongol invaders, entered the field of history. Amir Temur was born on April 8, 1336. He was born on April 8, 1336, Tuesday, Sha'ban, 736 AH, in the family of Muhammad Taragay, one of the Beks of Barlos, in the village of Khoja Ilgor near Shahrisabz. His father, Taragai Bahodir, was the head of the Barlas family in the Kashkadarya Valley and was from the village of Khoja Ilgor. His mother was Takina Moh. Amir Muhammad Taragay was above all a devout Muslim and a brave warrior. He was well educated and brought up in his family as a young man, for he was one of the most influential, intelligent, and self-sufficient men of his time. It is not true that much of the literature deliberately describes him as illiterate, merely a butcher, and a tyrant. From the age of 12, Amir Temur abandoned children's games and began to participate in military games. At the age of 16 to 18, Timur mastered the art of fencing, javelin throwing and hunting, and at the age of 20 he became an experienced horseman. Now he divid. Amir Temur's uncle, Haji Barlos, was the mayor of Kesh. From an early age, Timur was a man of military skill, gathering young warriors of the Barlos family around him. In 1360 to 1361, when Tughlaq Timur invaded the lands of Muvarunar without any resistance, Haji Barlos fled to Khorasan. The young Timur, who had a strong sense of patriotism and national pride, entered the service of Tughlaq Timur in order not to give the lands ruled by his uncle to the enemy, and soon justified his trust and received a certificate to rule over the lands of Kesh province. Amir Temur's work was the only way forward in times of political disunity, strife and chaos in Muvarunar. Because the revolt of the emirs of Muvarunar against Tughlaq Timur would inevitably lead to a new destruction of the lands of Muvarunar by Th. In 1361, Tughlaq Timur entrusted his inexperienced son Ilyas Khoja to manage the lands of Muvarunar. However, Timur refused to serve Ilyas Khoja and made an alliance with Amir Hussain, grandson of Amir Kazakhan, who was governor of Balkh at the time. Timur began fighting against the Mongols to consolidate his power. In one of the battles for local power, namely fighting the Turkmens in Sistan, he was wounded in his right arm and right leg and became lame for life. The death of Tughlaq Timur in 1363 intensified the struggle for Muvarunar. but it was clear that the Mongol invaders would not easily give up the lands of Muvarunar. Consequently, after the death of Amir Temur and Tughlaq Timur, the united forces of Amir Hussein, who was expelled from Muvarunar, began an allied struggle against the forces of Ilyas Khoja in 1365. The famous mud battle between Tashkent and China ended in defeat because of disagreements between the allies. After these events, the first conflict between Amir Hussein and Amir Temur began. Elijah, who won the Battle of Dirt, had a long way to go in Muvarunar. He goes to Samarkand with a large army. Meanwhile, the Samarkand generals Mavlan Zoda and Abu Bakr were fighting against Ilyas Khoja. Because of the patriotic resistance of the local population, the Mongols, who had been besieging Samarkand for some time, were forced to leave Muvarunar completely. Upon hearing the news of the victory over the Mongols in Muvarunar, Amir Temur and Amir Hussein went to Muvarunar to meet with the Sarbadar leaders at Kenajil near Samarkand. During this meeting, a disagreement arose and the leaders of the soldiers in Muvarunar, Amir Hussein took the throne of Samarkand, and his rule was restored. The relationship between Amir Hussein and Amir Temur has since deteriorated. By this time, the socio-economic situation in all of Muvarunar had deteriorated after the civil war. At the same time, it was necessary to create a centralized state system in the country that would put an end to the civil war. Amir Temur secretly fought against Amir Hussein and succeeded to the throne of Muvarunar in 1370. Over the years, fears arose about the homeland and the restoration of the country's independence, and Amir Temur was proclaimed Emir of Muvarunar at a congress convened in Balkh. But the situation in the country was difficult. The region of Muvarunar was still suffering from hardship. It was a hard-working people who had not yet been fully liberated from the Mongol invaders and was doomed to poverty. When Amir Temur ascended the throne, the first move was to liberate the country from the Mongol invader and establish an independent centralized state. He introduced new and improved rules for governing the country. As early as 1370, Amir Temur began building the city wall of Samarkand. He also built forts and palaces. These were the first buildings built 150 years after the Mongol invasion,